Welcome.
You ready?
I'm ready. Although I do have a little bit of a runny nose.
Oh.
But I've got this little scrap of tissue here, which is...
Can you go on?
Welcome to the show, which is called...
Sunday Chat!
That's because we're chatting. It's Sunday. Not really, because it's actually Saturday for us.
But when you see it, most of you,
Yeah.
unless you watch it later in the week, in which case it'll be a different day anyway.
Welcome.
Doesn't really matter.
Shush now,
Yeah.
Paul, you're out of control. Welcome to this very, very cold weekend.
It is a cold weekend.
Where's my... Oh, it's there.
But it looks...
Shush now, Paul. Hold on. Don't jump the gun. First of all, welcome. Welcome, bloody welcome to everybody around the world tuning in to this show.
Including that one?
Including you.
Right.
Yeah, we're truly international. Welcome, America, Canada,
India, Guatemala,
India,
Helsinki. No, that's a
Netherlands.
thing, isn't it?
Netherlands, Australia,
Iceland.
New Zealand, Iceland.
Wales.
Are there people in Iceland?
Guernsey.
All around the world. Thank you, bloody thank you.
France.
Yeah, all right. Spain, Italy, Germany. 2 other places.
Portugal.
If we haven't mentioned your country, wow.
Well, how many are there? There's 300 and something in their countries. I think there are, yeah. Always amazed when people do those flags videos and they sort of say to people, you know, what's this flag? And people go things like, oh, Guatemala. It's like, how many people know the Guatemalan flag?
Not me. I do apologise, Guatemala. I'm terrible with things like that, flags.
You're terrible.
You're terrible, Muriel.
Yeah, oh, I like that film.
Anyway, let's get on with the show. I do apologise for the lack of glamour this week, but one couldn't be bothered. One couldn't be asked. My CBA syndrome.
Oh, dearie me.
So yeah, let's kick off proceedings with Richard and Paul's weather report. If you can hear little noises and clicks and things, it's our ceramic
Dolphins. It's dolphins in the background.
Stop now. People are going to think we're completely insane. Yeah, it's our ceramic heater clicking on and off, regulating the temperature of the room. It's quite effective at getting this room mildly warm.
Because if it was too cold, Richard couldn't go on.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it does get too cold, the brain does start to fog.
I think it fogs at quite a high temperature.
And, of course, normal bodily functions start to cease and death occurs quite soon after.
Well, yeah.
It's only a few more degrees down and we'd be in hypothermia.
But you're weeing a lot at the moment, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
I think you've had 4 cups of tea this
Well,
morning.
I have had rather a lot of tea and we're having a coffee now. But it just seems
tends
to go...
sort of go in and then sort of down and then... whoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the cold weather,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
Anywho, weather, cold, grey, misty, foggy.
We've had some gorgeous sunny spells this week though, haven't we? When I've been at the top of the house working at my desk and the sun has been out in the morning, it's been gorgeous, and I've thought quite often, oh, when I get down to the plot this afternoon, hopefully there'll still be sun and blah. And of course, by the time I get down there, no.
It's starting
no
to
sun.
go dark.
It's starting. The sun has sort of gone behind a cloud, or it's sort of starting to go down. So yeah.
Well, in my daily vlogs, I filmed a little short segment from work the other afternoon.
Did you?
Yeah, because it got so dark. I think it was Wednesday, I'm not sure. You'll have to look and find out, but it went so dark I just had to film a little bit. It's 2:45 and it looked like it was about to go to night.
I saw one of your younger Butch males the other day going up the steps at the back of your work.
Younger Butch males?
Well, he was Butch. He was like he was in a shirt, and the shirt sleeves were rolled up as well. I thought, you must be bloody freezing.
I don't know who that was.
I'm only saying he was Butch because he was in the shirt with sleeves rolled up, and it was like 0 degrees.
Well, it's because the offices where they work upstairs are boiling hot.
Right, but you've still got to go from downstairs to upstairs.
I go upstairs in my jumper.
Jumper.
I don't put my coat on just to go upstairs to do a little bit of printing.
Not a thin cotton pale blue shirt.
Now, Paul, I'm falling asleep on board.
Because it's an outside set of stairs. That's the thing where he works.
It is. Anyway,
yeah.
Whatever.
External, that's the word.
I wonder, did we get any snow? Well, you'll just have to watch my daily vlogs to find out. Because Paul's not going to tell you, are you, Paul?
No.
But it's been extremely cold. The UK is experiencing a cold snap because we've got a high pressure system just out to the northeast, and that's kind of keeping this stream of cold air coming down from Scandinavia. Scandinavia.
So it's colder than usual for this time of the year in the UK.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it looks as though as we get into next week, we get back to more normal temperatures for the UK. And I don't think the forecast is to dip below 0 until about Boxing Day. I looked. So, we're going to be having 8, 9, 10 degrees in the daytime, and we're going to be having sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees at night.
At night?
At night. Yeah, so that's not too bad. Yeah. So not so many frosts. We've had hard frosts this week, haven't we?
We have. A couple of really hard frosts.
The other day, even though the sun was out, our flat roof had a frost on it till 11 o'clock in the morning, which is unusual. But there we are.
There we are. So that's it for the weather.
Of course, the sun at this time of year over the UK is not that powerful.
No.
That's why we have winter. Which we are in now. We're in meteorological winter.
Oh,
so
well.
It's exciting. It's exciting. And what happens in 3 weeks' time?
The solstice.
Solstice.
The winter solstice, the shortest day, and of course then the days start to get longer and longer, day by day.
But because of the tilt where we are, we can very often, our cold weather is in January, February. Even though the days get longer, the weather in January and February can be quite bitter. And in fact, when was it? 2018, we got Beasts from the East in March. That was really cold, wasn't it? Snow over everywhere.
Yeah. Hey.
There we are.
More wonderful things to look forward to.
Yay!
But of course, while we are in winter, it means lots of good television to watch, and we'll be talking about what we've watched on TV a little later. But to start off with, let's talk a little bit more about comedy, because we were talking about US comedy and UK comedy, and we were saying how we prefer US comedy, and we were sort of generally. I mean, of course, there are absolute favourites like Absolutely Fabulous.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of at the moment.
Oh, Are You Being Served? A perennial favourite.
Yeah. Carry On films, of course. Classics from a different era. But we were thinking about the sort of American classics from, starting from the 60s and things that we've watched during childhood. And we said, let's make a list. Let's make a list of the US comedies we can think of, pardon me, that we have enjoyed. And
it was quite interesting as we went through the decades. It was quite interesting to sort of chart the decades as they went along with changing comedy.
So I'm going to read my list, not in chronological order, because as we were talking, we were thinking, oh, that one, well, that's from the 80s, oh well. So it's not in chronological order. But you've got Beverly Hillbillies, I Dream of Jeannie, The Munsters, The
I
Addams
used to love
Family.
the Munsters.
I loved both of them.
Yeah. And they were black and white, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were black. As Beverly Hillbillies was black and white, of course.
Bewitched.
Yeah.
Maud. Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. Rhoda.
Oh, I loved Rhoda. 9 o'clock on a Monday evening.
Soap. Benson.
Soap. Benson.
Ronan Martin's Laughing.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Oh, I do, with Goldie Hawn.
I don't remember that one.
Golden Girls. MASH. Frasier. Sybil. Cheers. Just Shoot Me. Friends. Will and Grace. Dharma and Greg.
Love that.
Modern Family. Malcolm in the Middle. King of the Hill. Saved by the Bell. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Archer. Schitt's Creek. Superstore. We could go on.
But there are some in there that are really they just take you right back, and I can, like Rhoda, I can see myself sitting with Dad. Mum was mostly at work at the old Government House Hotel, and I'd be sitting with Dad and we'd watch Rhoda at 9 o'clock on a Monday evening.
Well, Wait Till Your Father Gets Home, that was tea time.
It was, absolutely.
Dinner time, around, I think, 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah.
Before the news.
And ITV.
No, it was BBC.
Was it?
Wait
I
Till
thought
Your
it was
Father Gets Home.
ITV.
I'm sure it was BBC.
Wouldn't BBC at that time have been Blue Peter and then something?
Yeah, and then there was a short show before the news.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it was
Will o' the Wisp
usually,
and things.
something that was accessible by adults as well. Because in the UK, children's television was in the afternoon on BBC and ITV. So it's aimed at kids getting in from school.
It's like 4:15 till 5:45.
To occupy them until tea time. And up north, your tea is your dinner.
Yeah, we used to have tea.
And lunch was called dinner.
It was only when we stopped being kids we started having supper and things. So yeah, it was funny.
Interesting. Anyway, so
But
there you go.
those were, I mean, they were huge over here. Those weren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's others, but those are the ones that I remember, and I can chart my age, if you like, with each of those. Apart from Friends, I've never ever watched an episode of Friends. I've seen the segment with his a turkey on his head or something, and they're sitting in the coffee shop. But Friends never ever appealed to me. I don't know why.
I haven't watched all of the Friends episodes, but I've seen quite a few over the years. But anyway,
MASH was one that Dad really liked, so I used to watch MASH, and of course, I worked with some of those actors in the West End, sort of decades later, which is quite interesting. But you don't like MASH, do you?
No, I never found MASH funny. There's several things that I've just simply don't find funny. I've never found Monty Python funny. I've watched a few and just thought, what's the fuss about?
Fawlty Towers.
But Fawlty Towers, again, I never found it funny. I just didn't find it funny. Didn't make me laugh. I just thought, what an idiot.
Oh, it makes me laugh just thinking about some of the things that went on in that.
But it's interesting talking about UK comedy, because UK comedy went through a real change in the 80s, and that's kind of our generation, when we were discovering new fresh comedy. There was a big change, and it was called alternative comedy. And this was kind of pushed forward by comics like Ben Elton, Alexei Sale, the comic strip,
Joe Brand,
French and Saunders, the Young Ones. It was a whole wave of new comedy, yet you still had top-class comedians like Victoria Wood, who was famed for her stand-up routines.
Yeah.
But also Victoria Wood was renowned for her sketch shows as well.
Hugely.
But her stand-up was the mark of her genius. And of course, sadly, she's no longer with us, which was a great blow to comedy, to be honest, because she'd also diversified into small films.
Well, and drama. She wrote Housewife 49,
and
didn't she?
drama, but she did various series, but one of the series was a set of sort of short films which were comedic, but were
darker.
Set on location as well. She would, she did so much for comedy, for British comedy.
And worked with quite a few people sort of throughout her time. Celia Imrie, Julie Walters, obviously. They met at the Bush Theatre in London. And I think actually there's a story from the Bush Theatre about Julie Walters actually finding a typewriter backstage and using that to write some sketches. So, yeah.
Julie Walters?
No, sorry, Victoria Wood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Julie Walters.
So, there is a lot of UK comedy that we enjoy, but I don't know. There's something about US comedy which appeals to me even more. I mean, there's some shows in the UK that I just think, what?
Well, there's some that ran for ages.
My Family.
Yeah, My Family never got into that.
Zoe Wanamaker and...
Richard?
What's his name? Oh, God. Citizen Smith.
Yeah, him.
Robert Lindsay.
Robert Lindsay.
I've watched that a couple of times and just thought, what on earth is this?
Never found it funny.
No.
And there's another one that sort of replaced it, and again, it's something we've never watched.
Yeah, there were a few shows that were really off the wall, like that one with Belinda Lang. What was that?
Yeah.
Do you remember? That was really good.
Yeah.
Very funny. I mean, there's classics. To the Manor Born. We've watched that several times. The Good Life. I mean, these are classics which are funny and well loved. But I don't know. UK
What's the one with
comedy
Judi
isn't
Dench that we adore?
as time goes by.
As time goes by, that's right. Love that one.
But I can remember far more US shows than I can UK shows. So anyway, all very interesting. Let's move on because I don't want this to be a terribly long video this week. So Paul, how has your working week been this week? You've talked about frustration.
Oh yeah, frustrating has been my that's been the name of the game through my whole week of work this week. It really has been. And of course I had to go on, so I just did. But it's been one of those weeks where the people that I usually deal with that are frustrating have been superbly frustrating this week.
Oh dear.
They've just been sort of like pinnacles of frustration. And then people that I normally just sort of get along with absolutely fine, in work I'm talking about, they have been frustrating. So it's been dealing with people has been really frustrating and hard work, and people making decisions, changing their minds, things having to be redone. It's just been challenging. And then on, was it Wednesday, I think? Wednesday afternoon, I've had a few issues with my mouse on my computer. It's sort of not moving the mouse, or the mouse not moving the cursor. And then it just stopped working. And it was like, oh, I'll change the battery. I put a new battery in. No.
And it's not one with mechanical parts, is it?
No.
It's not like as though your ball needs changing.
No.
It's a light.
No.
It's
None of our balls need changing at all.
Don't change my balls.
And it's not a wired one, So anyway, it stopped working. Fortunately, we've got one on the Richard and Paul computer that we use, because we've got two computers. But then you need to take the dongle out of one and put it into the other, and I was doing that, and then I was editing a week at the plot, and then my keyboard on the Richard and Paul computer wasn't working. I couldn't understand why it wasn't. And then I sort of sat back and thought what it could be. I looked at my screen of my computer, which is like 6 feet away from me, and I'd been typing on that computer. So everything I typed here, expecting it to go on Richard and Paul, was over there.
Oh dear, Paul.
So then I realised I had to move that dongle back, and it's just. And then I thought, oh, we've got a spare. We've got a spare that I can just plug in. Of course, I think the spare is in one of our moving boxes, and it's most probably going to be the one right at the bottom of our cupboard. So, and the thing is, the wireless keyboard and the wireless mouse are together. So I've got this issue, do I replace both of them? And I've decided that that's the best thing to do, so I'm going to replace both of them. And I did speak to somebody at the allotment who knows the technical side of these things, and she just said to me, if your mouse is gone and it's not a battery change, then just take it to the local dump for recycling, because of course they'll use the parts. So that's what I'm planning on doing next week. So there we are.
There we are. Hey ho.
I just hope next week isn't going to be as frustrating.
But again, it's just another indicator of how things are built not to last.
Yeah, yeah, they are now, or they're supposedly built to last now, aren't they? In the last couple of years.
I don't use a mouse. I use a trackball. Because when I do my music, I need really precise, and I'm able to get precision with my trackball.
Yeah.
You don't like using
I
the trackball,
don't like it at all. No, I find I get the precision with what I'm doing, but maybe I'm not. Well, yeah, on design stuff, I am precise. So, but then again, on design you can sort of like highlight something and then move it around. So maybe that is how it gets to be more precise. On your music things, you're clicking things that are really small, aren't you? And there's lots of them.
You're clicking notes, you're moving notes, and little tiny pixels of a note. Anyway.
And you said at work you use a pad.
I use the pad on my Surface Pro. Yeah, I use the little pad. I'm really adept at using it. When I first used a pad on a laptop, I thought, no, I can't do this, I need a mouse. But I've really got used to the Surface Pro one, and it's particularly good. Anyway, let's move on, because that's all very, very boring. So, Paul, you were going to attend a writing group this week, but it was cancelled due to the heating not working.
I was.
Were you disappointed?
Our local, yeah, I couldn't go, literally. I've decided to join a local library writing group. And I was really looking forward to it, and then I got an email through from the person who organised it to say, unfortunately the heating is broken at the local library, so we're going to be cancelling this evening's, which was then.
So when has it been rescheduled for?
Well, it's every 2 weeks, so it's going to happen in 2 weeks' time. So
Lovely.
I'm quite looking forward to that. I feel I need a marker in my week, which is something, or in my month, because it would be like every fortnight, which is something that really is going to help me drive my writing forward. So I'm hoping this is going to be it. Of course, the other thing that drives writing forward is not being distracted by other things. And last week I set myself a day where I was just going to be writing, and then, as I say, frustration with something else, it had to be dealt with, and yeah. So,
well, talking about writing, a little neat segue. The newsletter, the Richard and Paul newsletter, will be out next week at some point. We're not exactly sure when, but it will be.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, it
Good.
will be. By Friday, for sure.
And also a reminder that Richard and Paul's Read Along Live will be Sunday, the 10th of December at 1600 hours GMT. That's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. GMT. Greenwich Mean Time.
I'm looking forward to that, and of course we see on Planet Vegetaria there's been people that have been sharing the books and just sort of saying, oh, I've read it and I've enjoyed it, or whatever. So it'll be interesting to talk that through. And I was waiting for this to come into the library because I read The Owl Service a couple of weeks ago. I was waiting for the Thursday Murder Club to come into the library. And then I was in cancer research, another charity shop the other day, and I saw this on the shelf with about 5 others. And in fact, the Owl Service was there as well, and I sort of wish I'd bought it because I quite like to have it because I did enjoy it. I'd want to read it again. £2. So I thought, right, I'm going to spend £2 and get it. So I've just started part 2, so I'm sort of like 2/5 of the way through the book. And that's, when did I start this? It's Saturday morning now. I think I started this Thursday evening. So,
Good.
yeah.
So yes, we're very much looking forward to discussing the 2 very popular books. People are really enjoying them. The Owl Service is very different, and I'm looking forward to sharing my observations with you on that.
So am I. I'm looking forward to sharing my observations.
Oh. Sorry, what was that, Paul? Because that sounded like a different language.
That was in Welsh. Yeah, observations in Welsh.
Was it now?
Yeah.
So yes, read along, 10th of December at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Greenwich Mean Time. So, Paul, let's move on to the final segment of the show today, because we're keeping things short, because we got stuff to do. What have we watched on TV this week?
It's been we've watched quite a bit. We've continued with winter walks, and there was a couple of spring walks as well. And I'm really enjoying those. They're
too.
on BBC iPlayer if you're in the UK. Maybe they are on BritBox or something else, I don't know, elsewhere. And yeah, I'm enjoying them. They're half an hour, and it's just somebody walking with a camera, with a 360-degree camera, throughout the day in a rather sort of lovely area. There's been a couple of sea walks this week, which I think have been nice. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that. It's quite calming and is nice just to sort of chill to. So yeah, yeah.
Very enjoyable. We have finished RuPaul's Drag Race Season 5 UK. Season finale, fabulous. Fabulous. We won't say who won in case you've not watched it yet.
No.
But we were very happy with that result.
Absolutely.
Although all 3 of them were excellent.
All 3 of them were excellent. 2 of them were super excellent. 1 of them was my favourite. So, yeah.
Yeah, very good. We also continue with Foundation, which is becoming very interesting because we're getting answers to questions now.
Yeah.
We're at that stage. We're finding out more about Demoiselle.
Yeah.
And
the whole empire.
the origins of the empire. So yeah, very interesting, very enjoyable. That's on Apple TV, Foundation. What else? Oh yeah, we watched a couple of interesting programmes on chocolate and biscuits.
We did.
My favourites.
Yeah. There was one which was basically about the tins of chocolates that you get in the UK. Quality Street, Roses, and then others have sort of come along, Celebrations and Heroes.
Yeah.
And it was about the evolution of the chocolate box, basically. And I remember, chocolate boxes when we were kids,
Big.
Dad would always get Mum a chocolate box, and they had that chocolate box photo on the front, image on the front, and they were huge. And they had satin and things like that in them, and they were just glorious.
And they were padded, the tops.
The tops were padded, absolutely. And there was a whole selection of them. If you went into sort of higher end shops at Christmas, these boxes would be there. And then there was they realised that there was a market for cheaper chocolate, and this is where the chocolate tins came from, where Quality Street came from. And we all grew up with Quality Street. Quality Street, I think, was the family chocolate that you would get at Christmas. Mum would have her chocolate box, and then we would have this sort of big, because then it was a big tin of chocolate. Then Roses came along, a different maker got in on it, and they started Roses, and then Celebrations, and then Heroes. And it was a fascinating programme. It really was. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, my grandfather used to get my granny a huge box of chocolates at Christmas, and she would of course share them with the kids. And I remember there were all these fancy names, you know. I think they were sort of considered continental chocolates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which my mum never liked. My mum always wanted milk tray, Cadbury's milk tray. But I would eat any of them. I was the one that would eat all the ones left that nobody else wanted. I would just work my way through them because it was chocolate. It was sweet. I was an addict.
And when you say I would work my way through them, nowadays, you still would work your way through them. Because I've seen that happen recently.
Well, I was very shocked, Paul, the other evening when you came out with some squares of fruit and nut chocolate. And I was shocked because for some reason I didn't know there was chocolate in the house.
He didn't sniff it out. He didn't sniff it out.
I can normally tell if there's chocolate.
He can.
And I find it and I eat it.
Yeah. He comes in the door from work and then it's sort of like...
I'm like the equivalent of the child catcher in Chitty Bang Bang, except it's chocolate. I can smell chocolate.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
It's so true. It is
true. And I will literally wade through the whole bar. But I've been quite good because I haven't waded through all those caramel wafer bars yet.
No, you haven't.
I've eaten a substantial number of them.
You've eaten 3 of them and there's 3 left. And that's abstinence. Absolute abstinence, that.
If you can say the word. So secret world of chocolate and the secret world of biscuits.
And biscuits again, it was like the evolution of biscuits, and it was fascinating.
Well,
particularly hobnobs.
Yeah.
Particularly hobnobs, because was it McVitie's were trying to find something that other people couldn't copy, because like digestive biscuits, they are sort of, you know, anyone can make a digestive biscuit, anyone can make a custard cream, a bourbon cream, you know, that type of thing. And they were trying to find a biscuit that they could brand with a name so that nobody else could make it. Yeah.
And also they were talking about the expense of chocolate, you know, how it changed, the cost of chocolate changed. And at one point...
Penguin and Club biscuits
didn't use chocolate, they used a chocolate flavoured coating. And I can remember when that changed.
And they had
the mouth feel of the chocolate changed. It changed to the equivalent of what I call dog chocolate. And when I say I know what dog chocolate tastes like...
You've had lots of dog chocolate in your time.
Because I tried dog chocolate, of course. It was chocolate. Whether it's for dogs or humans made no difference.
Yeah.
It's like those chocolate tools.
Oh yeah, I remember the chocolate
Cheap
tools.
Chocolate
2p,
tools.
1p and 2p.
It doesn't emulsify in the mouth. It becomes sort of globular or granular and just hasn't got a nice mouth feel to it.
There we are.
That's cheap chocolate for you.
And it was interesting how Club and Penguin had to change their adverts, because Club particularly had something like the most chocolate on any biscuit. Something like that.
If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club.
And they had to change the advert because they weren't allowed to use the word chocolate because it wasn't chocolate, but they could say it was chocolatey. So
interesting. We also watched another secret program, The Secret Genius of Modern Life, and they were talking about the evolution of the phone.
Mobile phone.
The touch screen phone. And also in this program, the professor who presents the program, she takes apart the gadgets she's talking about and
looks at them individually.
And talks about the evolution of each element of these things. So that was really interesting. Love that.
I thought the most interesting part of it was the antennae of a phone. Because it is actually now the whole sort of frame of a mobile phone is the antenna. That is it. So it doesn't have to have that thing that lifts up anymore, you know, which we haven't had for ages. but also how there's like 7 or 9 antenna in a phone, and depending with some phones, depending on how you hold them, you can actually interfere with the signal. So
Yeah.
that was fascinating.
Very interesting. Love a good sort of sciencey program. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it, really.
No, we then we watched the new
Oh,
Agatha
yeah.
Christie, Haunting in Venice, and actually I really enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it as a film, a thriller, a crime thriller, rather than an Agatha Christie film. And I think this is where the book is inspired, I think, is it Halloween Party? I think it's inspired by.
Yes.
And it's so different to that book, that story, that I find it a bit too much of a jump. But what I did enjoy is the fact that Poirot, this time, has a big moustache rather than a ridiculous sort of facial feature that he's had for the last 2 films. And it was the reason that he had such a big moustache was explained in the last film, Death on the Nile, and it was the fact that he had a war wound or a bullet wound, and it had a scar on it, and that's why he had. This time the moustache was much smaller and there was no scar. So scars can vanish.
So, marks out of 10, Paul, let's finish off.
6.
6 out of 10. Thank you very much. I fell asleep through part of it.
You did.
And then woke and it ended and thought, oh, that was great.
Marks out of 10 from you for putting you to sleep?
Oh, 10.
10, yeah.
Definitely. So that's it for this week.
See, you're doing it now. Oh.
This week's
Oh,
Sunday
my bum
chat.
is sore.
My
is
back's
really
a little bit
sore.
twingy as well.
Is your back twingy? Yeah.
Anyway, from these old queens.
Bony queens. Bony queens?
From these old bony queens. Queens with bones. No, that doesn't sound right.
It doesn't sound quite right, no.
It's
No.
goodbye for this week's show.
Sunday chat! Just thought I'd get
Take
one
care,
more in.
toodle pip, au revoir.
I'm going to have some more coffee now. Have
Bye.
you drunk your coffee?
Yeah.
I
I didn't really like it.
No.
I didn't like that oat milk.
I don't like that oat milk. It's an OT oat milk.
It's a bit
I
weird.
don't like it, no.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Come again. Watch all the adverts.
I think that person's gone now.
Bye. Yeah, you can switch off now.
Bye.
Bye.